Welcome to this special, comprehensive broadcast. Today, we find ourselves standing at an incredibly pivotal, undeniably critical juncture in the ongoing, ever-evolving timeline of Philippine basketball. For decades, the narrative surrounding our beloved national team, Gilas Pilipinas, has been a tale written with undeniable heart, unmatched passion, and a relentless, unyielding David versus Goliath mentality. We are a nation of over 100 million people, and for us, basketball is not merely a sport, a pastime, or a casual weekend hobby. It is a deeply ingrained cultural religion, a shared language that echoes across the concrete courts of bustling barangays and reverberates through the towering, air-conditioned arenas of the metropolis. But as we have learned time and time again on the unforgiving international stage, heart alone does not secure crucial defensive rebounds against the towering giants of European basketball. Passion, no matter how fiercely it burns within the chest of our athletes, cannot legally alter the trajectory of a shot at the rim. We have spent generations seeking the great equalizer, searching the archipelago and beyond for a beacon of physical impossibility and refined skill that could finally tilt the global hardwood axis in our favor. That beacon, that generational anomaly carrying the weight of an entire nation's hoop dreams, has always been Kai Sotto. However, the Kai Sotto we are gathering to discuss today is not the exact same slender, developing young prodigy who first captured the imagination of basketball-obsessed citizenry years ago. We are witnessing an evolution. We are looking at a physical and structural transformation that promises to alter the very fabric of how Gilas Pilipinas executes its half-court offensive sets and fortifies its interior defensive schemes. Yet, as the old adage goes, with great evolution comes a persistent shadow of great peril. Today, we are here to dissect, analyze, and thoroughly unpack a triad of breaking, interconnected developments that have fundamentally reshaped the landscape of our upcoming international campaigns. First, we are deeply analyzing the profound tactical and physical effects of a significantly more extended, broader, and imposing Kai Sotto. We will explore exactly what this added mass means for his game and for the team. Second, we will examine the sudden, alarming reports regarding a physical setback, a specific, terrifying moment of vulnerability where our franchise cornerstone was hurt on the floor, an event that sent immediate ripples of profound anxiety throughout the entire global Filipino basketball community. And finally, we will break down the devastating, frustrating reality of yet another crucial Gilas Pilipinas player being officially ruled out of rotation, a recurring nightmare of attrition and unfortunate timing that continues to haunt our national squad under the agonizing banner of Out Yulit. Before we delve into granular, frame-by-frame analysis of these events, we must first establish the immense gravity of the situation. When we talk about Kai Sotto stepping onto the floor, we are not just evaluating a standard center running a standard pick and roll. We are evaluating an unprecedented national investment in human potential. For years, the International Scouting Report on Philippine basketball was glaringly simple, almost insultingly predictable. They are exceptionally quick. They shoot with remarkable courage. Their guards possess handles that can break ankles, but they are fundamentally undersized. Opposing coaches from the Americas, from Eastern Europe, from the towering rosters of the African continent would meticulously game plan around our lack of verticality. They would punish us in the paint, suffocate us on the offensive glass, and force our shooters into highly contested, low-percentage looks because the threat of an interior lob or a dominating post presence was largely non-existent. Kai Sotto was born to rewrite that specific scouting report. Standing an extraordinary 7 feet and 3 inches, he brought a uniquely modern skill set, a soft touch from perimeter, high-level passing vision from the high post, and a legitimate rim-protecting wingspan. But the persistent critique, the loud whisper that followed him from the developmental leagues to the professional courts of Australia and Japan, was always focused on his frame. Critics argued he was too slight, too easily displaced off his spot, too vulnerable to the sheer, bruising physicality of seasoned, grown men fighting for positioning in the trenches of international competition. Now, the paradigm has shifted. The breaking news of a more extended, bulkier, and heavily fortified Kai Sotto changes the calculus for every opponent we face. This is not merely cosmetic weight. This is functional, biomechanical armor. But basketball is a cruel, unforgiving sport where the human body is constantly subjected to immense, unnatural torques and sudden, violent impacts. The subsequent news that Kai Sotto endured a painful hit, that someone on the floor hurt our primary weapon, brings a sharp, sobering halt to our collective celebration of his physical development. In the modern game, the durability of a giant is always the most precarious variable. We hold our collective breath every time a 7-footer hits the deck, knowing full well that the kinetic chain of a body that large is incredibly delicate. And to compound this anxiety, the revelation that we are losing yet another key rotational piece, the dreaded out-Gilas scenario, forces the coaching staff back to the drawing board. Gilas Pilipinas is an ecosystem. When one crucial piece is removed, the entire distribution of minutes, defensive responsibilities, and offensive usage rates must desperately recalibrate. The margin for error on the FIBA stage is microscopic. You cannot afford to bleed points in the paint, and you certainly cannot afford to lose your vital depth when facing teams that run 10 men deep with relentless, systemic precision. So, as we prepare to transition into our deep dive analysis, I ask you to keep these interlocking themes in mind. The physical expansion of a national treasure, the fragile, ever-present reality of injuries in high-stakes competition, and a relentless, exhausting war of attrition that defines international basketball. We are about to break down exactly how Kai Sotto's added strength changes our pick-and-roll coverages, how this specific injury scare impacts his immediate readiness, and exactly which dominoes fall across the Gilas roster with the absence of our injured comrade. This is a reality of the game we love. It is a game of inches, of muscle, of bone, and of unyielding resilience. Let us begin by closely examining the first and arguably most structurally significant piece of this puzzle, the tangible effects of a more extended, visibly bulkier Kai Sotto. When we use the term extended in this context, we are speaking directly to his physical width, his core strength, and the overall mass he has deliberately accumulated. For a player of his extraordinary stature, adding 15 to 20 pounds of pure, functional muscle is a complex, delicate physiological undertaking. You cannot simply add weight without considering the immense strain it places on the lower body extremities, the knees, the ankles, the feet, areas notoriously vulnerable in athletes over 7 feet tall. However, the dividends of this physical expansion, when executed correctly through rigorous, state-of-the-art strength and conditioning programs, are absolutely astronomical for Gilas Pilipinas. Consider the fundamental mechanics of the half-court offense. In previous iterations, when Kai was asked to set a screen at the top of the key for a dynamic guard, opposing defenders would often fight through the screen with relative ease, or simply absorb the contact without being significantly deterred from their defensive assignment. A lean screener is a mere obstacle. A heavily muscled screener is a brick wall. With a wider base and a stronger center of gravity, Kai Sotto's screens now possess a bone-jarring quality. He can legitimately separate the primary defender from the ball handler, creating invaluable fractions of second and crucial inches of space. This forces the opposing big man to step up higher in pick-and-roll coverage, stretching the defense and opening up the critical real estate in the middle of the floor. Furthermore, when Kai rolls to the basket, his added mass allows him to seal off his defender much earlier and much lower in the paint. Previously, a strong, seasoned European center could easily wedge him out of the restricted area, forcing him to catch the ball 8 to 10 feet from the hoop, turning a high-percentage dunk into a difficult, contested hook shot. Now, an extended Kai can hold his incredibly valuable real estate. He can drop his hips, absorb the defensive bump, maintain his pivot foot, and present a massive, immovable target for the entry pass. This entirely changes the gravity of the Gilas offense, dragging weak-side defenders into the paint and generating wide-open, uncontested looks for our perimeter shooters. Defensively, the implications are equally profound. In the brutal, highly physical theater of FIBA basketball, the low post is a war zone. Centers are allowed a degree of physical leverage in contact that is often heavily penalized in other leagues. A wider Kai Sotto is no longer susceptible to being simply backed down and bullied beneath the basket. He can anchor his incredibly long frame, chest up against the opposing big, and force him to shoot over his staggering wingspan without yielding ground. This eliminates the need for the Gilas defense to panic and overhelp, meaning our guards do not have to abandon the three-point line to dig down into the post. The ability of one man to hold his ground in single coverage defensively is the ultimate luxury in modern basketball, and Kai's physical extension is the key to unlocking that defensive absolute. But this beautiful, tactical vision was abruptly shattered by the chilling reality of our second major point. The moment Kai Sotto was hurt, the collective gasp from the fan base was not an overreaction. It was a deeply conditioned response born from years of watching promising big men sidelined by the brutal physical toll of the sport. When the reports indicated that someone hurted Kai Sotto, it highlighted the exact danger of his newfound willingness to engage in heavy contact. As he throws his newly fortified body into the paint, battling for offensive rebounds, contesting vicious drives at the rim, and setting those aforementioned brick wall screens, the sheer accumulation of kinetic force takes a toll. We must analyze the specific nature of this pain. Was it a blunt force trauma, a contusion resulting from a stray elbow, or a heavy collision in midair? Or was it a structural tweak, a hyperextension born from the awkward, unpredictable physics of landing in a congested painted area? The reality is that opponents are not naive. They recognize that Gilas Pilipinas runs through the towering presence of Kai Sotto. The scouting report dictates that you cannot allow him to operate freely. Opposing teams will actively seek to test his physical resolve, deploying their strongest, most aggressive frontcourt enforcers to deliver hard fouls, to lean heavily on him during dead ball situations, and to make every single trip down the floor a grueling, exhausting physical test. When a player of Kai's height takes a hard hit, the leverage involved makes the impact significantly more dangerous. We have seen the trajectory of countless 7-footers altered by nagging, persistent injuries caused by the relentless wear and tear of contact. This scare serves as a stark, glaring reminder that while adding muscle is highly beneficial, it does not render a player invincible. It necessitates a highly sophisticated, meticulously managed approach to his recovery, his practice load, and his minute distribution during grueling tournament windows. The medical staff's ability to swiftly diagnose, expertly treat, and aggressively rehabilitate these inevitable bumps and bruises is just as crucial to Gilas' success as any drawn-up offensive play. This brings us to the devastating, heart-wrenching reality of our final breaking point. The phrase "out Yulit," out again, is a chillingly familiar, deeply frustrating refrain for Philippine national team. The loss of another crucial Gilas player to injury or unavailability fundamentally compromises the structural integrity of the roster. When a team loses a key rotation piece, the impact is not linear. It is exponential. It is not simply about replacing the 10 points or 6 rebounds that player might have provided. It is about the massive, cascading domino effect it has on the entire lineup. If the missing player is another big man, the pressure placed squarely on Kai Sotto's shoulders instantly doubles. He is forced to play extended minutes, risking severe fatigue and increasing his vulnerability to exactly the type of injury scare we just discussed. If the missing player is a dynamic guard or a versatile wing, the spacing around Kai shrinks. Defenses can easily collapse on him, double-team him on the catch, and suffocate his operating room because the threat from perimeter has been severely diminished. Coach Tim Cohn and the entire coaching staff are now faced with monumental, unenviable task of tactical duct taping. They must immediately ask players to step far outside their natural comfort zones. A power forward may be forced to play heavy minutes at the center position, instantly surrendering a massive size advantage to the opposition. A shooting guard might have to slide up to the small forward spot, creating glaring, easily exploitable mismatches on the defensive end of the floor. The out-Yulit scenario tests the absolute depth, the mental fortitude, and the ultimate resilience of the national pool. It forces unheralded players deep on the bench to suddenly step into blinding, unforgiving spotlight of international competition. It disrupts the delicate, carefully cultivated chemistry that the team has painstakingly built over weeks of grueling training camps. In FIBA tournaments, where you only have a handful of games to secure your destiny, dropping a single match because your rotation was crippled by injuries can permanently slam the door on Olympic or World Cup aspirations. This is the stark, unforgiving reality of the situation we currently face. A stronger centerpiece, momentarily shaken, surrounded by a roster once again forced to patch glaring holes in its armor. As we begin to step back, take a deep breath, and look at the vast, overarching landscape of this incredibly complex situation, it is absolutely essential to maintain a profound sense of perspective. The news we have meticulously unpacked today, the highly encouraging physical extension of Kai Sotto, the terrifying, breathless moment of his injury scare, and the frustrating, recurring curse of the out-Hewlett, missing Gilas player. These are not isolated, random events. They are simply the intense, unavoidable growing pains of a national basketball program desperately attempting to permanently elevate itself to the elite, unforgiving upper echelons of the global stage. We are a nation that expects immediate miracles. We want our heroes to be entirely flawless, to never tire, to never fall, and to conquer the world purely on the strength of our collective cheers. But the cold, hard reality of international basketball is a brutal grind, a continuous, exhausting cycle of building, breaking down, and painstakingly rebuilding. The physical evolution of Kai Sotto is an immense triumph of dedication, a testament to his sheer willpower and his absolute commitment to answering the call of his country. He recognized his physical deficiencies. He accepted the harsh criticisms, and he put in the agonizing, unseen hours in the weight room to transform his body into a weapon capable of combating the very best the world has to offer. We must celebrate that immense effort, but we must also temper our soaring expectations with the sobering reality of the physical toll it demands. When he gets hurt, when he takes a vicious elbow to the ribs or lands awkwardly on a contested rebound, it is a stark reminder that he is merely human. He is a young man carrying the hopes, the dreams, and the immense, crushing pressure of over 100 million people on a frame that is still learning how to navigate the brutal physics of the professional game. The injury scare should not induce blind panic, but rather a mature, nuanced understanding of the immense risks involved every single time he laces up his sneakers and dons the national colors. Furthermore, the deeply frustrating reality of losing another crucial player from the rotation is the ultimate, grueling test of our national basketball philosophy. It is incredibly easy to support a team when the roster is fully healthy, when the highlight reels are endless, and when every offensive possession looks like poetry in motion. But true championship mettle, true national pride, is forged in the fires of adversity. It is proven when the odds are stacked entirely against us, when the rotation is alarmingly thin, and when the players who remain on the floor must dig deep into reservoirs of energy and willpower they did not even know they possessed. The next man up mentality cannot merely be a catchy slogan printed on a warm-up shirt. It must be the very lifeblood of Gilas Pilipinas. Whoever is called upon to fill that glaring void must do so with absolute fearlessness. In closing, the path to the FIBA World Cup, the grueling journey toward the Olympic Games, is never a straight, seamlessly paved road. It is fraught with agonizing physical setbacks, strategic nightmares, and moments of profound doubt. But it is precisely in navigating these chaotic, unpredictable storms that a team discovers its true identity. A wider, stronger Kai Sotto gives us an unprecedented, incredibly powerful anchor to hold the line. The minor injuries and the missing personnel simply dictate how fiercely the rest of the crew must row. The heart of Philippine basketball has never been questioned. Now, it is time for the newly acquired muscle, the deeply ingrained resilience, and the unyielding tactical discipline to take center stage. Thank you for joining me for this extensive deep dive into the current state of our national team. Keep supporting, keep believing, and never stop watching.